Hello, everybody. Welcome to the BJA podcast. If you're wondering why I sound a little bit more chipper today, I actually didn't get that much good sleep last night, but I just chugged a yerba mate, so I'm ready to go. How you doing, SD1?
Well, I didn't chug an yerba mate, but I'm living the dream, Joe.
You don't need yerba mate
No.
to live the dream.
Yeah, I don't even know.
I need it.
I didn't even know what you said. I just said a word that sounded like what you said, and I didn't even know what you were talking about. I'm assuming it has caffeine in it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. They claim it's a more clean sort of caffeine feel, but I think that's mostly marketing. I think drug is a drug, and it is good tasting. I do it for the taste also, not just for the hit.
That's fair. I'm drinking decaf tea right now. Green tea.
Oof, you're living on the edge there. All the health benefits. All right, guys. Well, we have a Q&A mailbag podcast for you. All questions have either been submitted on the BJA YouTube channel or the Blackjack Apprenticeship Forum. Some people have been asking, where are all the BJA podcasts on YouTube? I used to see them all the time, and now they're totally gone, just vanished. Don't worry, we're still there, but they're just transferred to a new channel. So if you search at BJA Podcast, you'll find all the episodes in the past for free on there on YouTube. You just have to sign up for that new channel. So if you could, guys, do us a favor and subscribe and comment on all that stuff, because we just started that channel just to kind of keep things a little bit more clean for the feed. But that's where all the podcasts are going to be from this point forward.
So funny. If we're doing this right, we should actually ask them to be subscribing every time we do an episode. You know, like the YouTubers do. Like, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
I don't even want to hear myself saying that, so I try not to.
Same.
Yeah. I think the product will speak for itself.
Yeah. Heck yeah. All right. Questions. Let's go.
Okay, we're gonna start off with a banger here, and it's gonna really fire SD1 up, which is what I like to hear. A BJA member on the forum shared a very infuriating, sad story, and I'll summarize it for you guys. Basically, what happened was they played at a property in Arizona. It was a tribal property. It may or may not rhyme with Schmezzert Diamond Casino in Arizona. And basically what they did was they held and refused to cash out 14,000 of this person's chips. This person, the Schmezzert Diamond Casino, said that they had been previously trespassed from a different property that they own. And so when the person went to go cash out the chips of the cage, it was above 10,000, so they got the name, and then they saw, oh, this person is on a banned list from one of our sister properties. We're just going to take these chips and not pay you back, and you have to leave right away. So what do we do here?
Well, clearly I responded to this post, as you informed me when I couldn't think about what this one was about, and then I was like, oh yeah, I did. First step, resist the emotional response of raging. This is bullshit. It's not legal in any way, shape, or form. Being trespassed from another one of their properties does not make you trespass from this property. And none of this gives them permission to seize your chips. They let you play. You beat them. They're pissed. Let's be nice about this. They're not taking it like a man. So what do? Well, this isn't like a show your ID situation and they'll pay you. They just stole from you. So unfortunately, the right path is, because they're not immune from federal law, guys. It's a reservation. It's a tribal casino. My first step would be talk to an attorney.
What would make it a federal law as far as like what they violated? Would you say it's sort of like
they stole
some sort of theft of grand larceny type of charge or something?
Yeah, they can't steal money from you. So I would talk to an attorney about this. And listen, most of us have played on many, many different tribal casinos, and they do business just fine and just right. And they don't pull this crap, the majority of them. So let me just say that. When stuff does happen, if it's something like this, where this is theft, don't just think they automatically get away with it because they're on sovereign land. They still are in the United States of America, and they still have to live by federal law, and you cannot steal from somebody. Now, I'm not an attorney. This is not legal advice. So an attorney might go, 14 grand, not really worth what you're going to have to go through to get this back. And that would suck. But you got to explore the options, I think. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, Nersessian is usually fairly pessimistic about success in that area, but there has been success suing individuals at the casino on that level.
Bob Loeb's beat him.
Yeah. To follow through with the story a little bit here, the player filed a complaint with the Indian Gaming Office, and then they received a response from them, and the response was, although you may have been instructed to proceed to the cage to cash out your checks, the cage personnel correctly followed their process to ensure compliance with Title 31 anti-money laundering procedures and statewide self-exclusion and casino banned player listings. Their discovery of your status as a banned player, which precludes you from being on Schmezzert Diamond Casino properties for any reason, then required the withholding of any payout. Yeah, so when it works for them, the statewide law of self-exclusion, then they follow those rules. But then when they don't want to pay, then they'll say, we're sovereign land and we don't have to pay attention to state or federal laws at all. We're just going to do our own thing.
It's infuriating. It really is. It's even more infuriating when a state casino does this, because I think I know way more stories of state casinos pulling this crap than tribal casinos, to be quite honest, and be fair to the tribes. But yeah, it's messed up. I don't know if 14 grand is going to be worth the legal effort. I have no idea. You could also be like our dear friend Tommy Highland and not care what it costs, because damn it, it's a precedent and they're not going to win and beat me. So if you have a case, you can make a decision, spend the money or not, but it just sucks. Like, that's theft.
You're just going to have to consult with a couple different lawyers and figure out the strategy there, which is the best approach. And I mean, that is one thing of the problems I've had with any tribals. It's been this scenario where I was trespassed from one property and I go to their sister property and they just take that as the same thing. You know, if it's a state-run casino that happens, they have no power. And the tribal casinos, sometimes they'll try to pull, you were trespassed at our sister property 6 hours away, so we're not going to pay you out. But I think the lesson here is knowing that a few tribal casinos have done this in the past. The best practice is to just not go to the cage with all your chips.
Yeah, I don't remember. Was he backed off or trespassed before the cash out? Like, was it getting heat? I don't remember the scenario.
Yeah, it says, they played at the casino, and then when they went to go cash out, all this sort of got stirred up. The first mistake is going there with the whole 14,000.
That's it.
If you really want to be safe, you have your friends cash out some of it, not do the whole thing, of course. No, don't just dump 14K on one person and have them go cash it out. You split it over a long period of time, and I mean, that would be the safest route.
Be more strategic. That's probably the best advice that we can possibly give in a situation like this, to avoid the situation altogether this way.
It's infuriating because this player was theoretically was making it sort of respecting the rules of the casino by going in, showing ID, like doing things to make it easy on them. They still acted this way.
Yeah.
It's like, I could see them, maybe if they spotted you cashing out 9,900 yesterday, and then you come back and do the other, then they have this big incident at the cage, but this person, was playing by the rules, went to the cage, was transparent about who they were, and the casino just screwed them like this. So it's really disappointing.
Trash. But what do you expect from casinos, guys and gals? They are low form beings.
Yeah. And also, just to remind everyone, especially newer players, incidents like this at tribals are still very, very, very rare. Not to say it never happens, but it is very rare. And of the 3 times my rights have been violated, sometimes physically, have been state-run casinos. So just food for thought.
Yep. All right, Joe. This is always a great one to revisit. When a casino backs you off and they say that they're going to trespass you, do you have to give them ID?
No, you don't have to give them ID. You don't have to give them your social. You just politely say, I'm going to leave now. And then you just walk out the door.
And just to clarify that even further to what Bob Narcessian says, you do not, under any circumstances, ever have to or are obligated to show ID in a casino unless you've met a CTR threshold. No other reason. Law enforcement officer approaches you, it's kind of your decision. But from what I understand, if you're doing nothing wrong and you've done nothing to give them any kind of probable cause, even then you are not required to show ID. Again, not a lawyer, not legal advice, but you might be making it harder on yourself by not showing your ID to a cop. And just be fully prepared for them to hand it over to the casino too.
Yeah, you have to remind yourself. I mean, these are for the newer players that, it seems intimidating when they have security guards that are huge and they look official and they have these fake badges on and whatever else they use to dress them up for authority. And then there's suits all around. They're saying, demanding ID and things like that. But you don't have to give them a damn thing.
Suits that are always too big and never fit them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe next time, instead of don't give them your ID, but give them a business card for a tailor in town. In terms of EV, what is the best option? Double deck, 6-deck, or 8-deck?
Oh, great question.
This is gray, very gray.
Yeah, the answer is it depends. So there's a lot of factors that go into what makes this a better game or not. Also, define better. So let's start with defining better. What are your goals? If you want the most EV out of the situation, then we can go down a whole rabbit hole of what makes one better than the other. But maybe you want the game that you're going to get the most hours on. And that may be the 6-deck or the clunky 8-deck, as our friend Loudon often likes to call it, where you can still generate good EV. The big defining thing, and I'll let Joe correct me on this if I'm wrong, the big defining thing that I see in terms of the value of the game, if we're specifically talking EV, double decks are nice. They're juicy. The EV is great. You don't have to spread as big. All these things are true. It's also true that they're normally watched more closely as well. And it's also true that they're often slower. So one of the defining things that can actually make that 6-deck game better is penetration and rounds per hour. Because if you have heads up on a deep cut 6-deck game with a fast dealer and you're cranking like my buddy here, Joe, can, it's going to smoke that double deck every day of the week.
There's so much to it because let's say you have a double deck game and they're cutting off a full deck. Well, that's essentially the same as like a average 6-deck game now, but slower. So even worse. So you're not getting as good of a deal as you think you are. It's even pit dependent. You could have multiple pits in the casino. Maybe one pit, there's 3 or 4 dealers that are cutting off better than the dealers in the other pit. So now, and let's say that's an 8-deck pit and the other one is a, double deck or 6-deck, more 6-deck pit, then yeah, it's better to be in the one where everyone's cutting more, or there's less players or all that. So there's so many different factors versus just choosing a game. Things aren't always equal, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
On paper, when you get to the real casino, it's never just like a transferable, you can't just have a spreadsheet and take it to every casino and have it mean the same thing.
Yeah, there's so many things that go into it, like you said. I mean, maybe the 6-deck and 8-deck have ASMs, automatic shuffling machines, and they hand shuffle the double deck. Well, that just made it even slower. Maybe the rules are different too. Maybe it is a good deep cut double deck, but you can only double on 10 and 11 and no double after split. So rules matter. All those things matter. The biggest thing is think about what you want to get out of it, what are your goals on it, and run it through pro betting software, which you guys have it so easy nowadays. We joked about this the other day, Joe. What did you do if you had to run down a game?
If I had to analyze it?
Yeah.
Go out to my car and take out a huge laptop and I have to fire up a Windows machine on my Mac computer and wait about, 15 minutes for the simulation to come through.
Now you guys just go in the stall, act like you're taking a crap, and run it on your phone in about 30 seconds. So run the game, guys. See what it is and know what your goals are at the place.
Yeah, if there's a double deck game there and it's stand 17, resplit aces, and they're cutting off a quarter of a deck and it's worth $700 an hour, but they have all the staff watching it and you only get 30 minutes before the back off. What's the EV there then compared to the regular 6-deck game that you could play for a lot more hours on?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and also something we didn't touch on too is it's not just the EV you have to look at, but the risk with your bankroll too. Like if you have a really small bankroll, then sometimes it doesn't matter what the games are. Maybe you can only safely play one game there. Maybe you can only play the double deck, even though it's a lot slower. Maybe the 6-deck is too risky. It's like 10 or 20% risk of ruin versus the 2-deck. So there's also that you have to factor in too. It's not just like a balancing, scale where there's just two factors. It seems it's about 4 or 5 different angles you have to kind of balance to figure out which table is the right one to play.
Yep.
And it does take a little bit of practice to go through enough real world scenarios to just know right away that that's the right choice.
Yeah, comfortability and just getting experience. That's one of the biggest things. And then it kind of becomes second nature, seeing some things too. And you don't even maybe necessarily have to analyze it to know what you want to do. Okay. Here's another great one to review. Does one have to go into a back room at the casino when the goons are wanting to force you in?
Are they asking, do you have to go with them?
Yeah.
Okay. No, you don't have to go with them. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll just pick you up by your pick you up by both arms like they did to me and drag me into the back room and then try to get me to sign trespass papers. And while I'm in the back room, just repeating over and over again that I want to leave and this is kidnapping and you have no right to hold me here, just so that they can hear it on the audio recording. Because a lot of times in the back room, they might have an audio recorder, whereas on the floor, almost 99% of the time, they don't have audio. And in that case, what I do is if I kind of notice, something looks like it's going to go down, or it just looks a little bit iffy, then I'll have the audio recorder going on my phone, the voice memo on my phone, and then put it, somewhere out, like in my pocket or something with the speaker facing out so that it can record the audio of what's happening. Because if something happens to the lawyers, they'll have the surveillance footage, but they won't have the audio of what's going on. So it's kind of nice to have that as a backup.
If they approach you aggressively, also one of the best things you can do is put your hands in the air and point towards the exit and just walk with determination towards the exit. Just keep pointing towards the exit and say, I'm leaving, with your hands up. And then they lay hands on you. Well, then you're talking to an attorney.
Okay. If the count is high, doesn't the dealer probably have a 10 underneath?
No. Is there a higher probability because there are more 10s and aces there? Yes, there are. But it doesn't just mean that they have one underneath, and you can't make that assumption unless you see it. You're playing a way that mathematically is in your favor, and you stick to that. You hear this often in high counts, dealer bust time, which is actually not true. They will make a lot of pat hands during high counts. What you have to understand is your edge comes from the 3 to 2 blackjack. It's the aces. The ace and 10 combination is where it's at in the high counts and what makes it so valuable.
Yeah, don't just assume they always have a 10 when it's a really high count and then vary your playing strategy based on the fact that you think it's a 10 underneath. That's not a good way to go. This has been analyzed for many, many, many years. We have the answers already. We have what we call deviation playing indices. These have been, simulated over and over and over again. On Blackjack Apprenticeship, we have different deviation charts for different table types and games. So you can go on there and find the exact number of the true count of when you should differ your play. But yeah, don't just go in without memorizing the charts ahead of time and wing it.
No. Sometimes you just got to take the kick in the teeth. The dealer is still going to win a lot of hands in high counts. So take it and know you have the edge.
I'd love to hear some different perspectives on long-term money storage, checking versus savings accounts, multiple financial institutions, safe deposit box.
Well, I'm going to give you my answer, and it doesn't necessarily cover the whole of the AP world. Banks U.S. banks in particular are notorious in regards to not wanting to give you your money. For a business and institution built on money, they do not like to deal with cold hard cash. Some don't even like to take repeated or large deposits of cash. They get mad about that. But withdrawing cash often, especially in larger sums, is going to be a problem for you. And a bank will back you off. They'll just say, we don't want your business. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with the AMA compliance issues that they have to jump through because you're doing that. So they'll just say,
have you been backed off?
I have not.
Which banks have you? Okay.
I have not.
I've been backed off from Bank of America, BB&T. I think that's it, actually. Usually the larger U.S. chains.
Yeah, Bank of America backed off Colin, too, I think. I think that B of A is the one that backed off Colin. Or maybe it was Chase. I use U.S. Bank, and they have been excellent. Now, I don't withdraw. I only deposit cash. So, yeah. Also, heads up, guys. Don't think that you can go to a bank because you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in your bank account and would just withdraw 30 grand. Chances are they don't have 30 grand. You actually have to call ahead of time and they order the money from the treasury to have it ready for you.
Yeah. And then sometimes, like this happened to me a few months ago, where they like basically encouraged me to structure, which they don't like. And they said, oh, well, we have 10 here. Why don't you do the 10 here, then drive down the street to this location and get another 10 and drive down the street. Like they were encouraging that.
What the heck?
I really needed the money really quickly, so I had to do that. And then by the time I got to my third branch, they said they looked at all the transaction. They're like, "What's going on here? Why do you keep going to multiple branches?" And I said, "Well, the first branch told me to do this because they were short on hundreds." And then the last bank told me, "Well, just to warn you, like, don't do this. Try not to do this again because it's gonna go up for review. It's gonna go to a review and." Of suspicious activity, whatever. But this person's asking, long-term story. If you don't need the money, I think they're asking, like, do you have multiple banks? Do you put cash in safe deposit box? Do you have a safe? Like, do you rather use safes? Like, what's the whole?
I don't.
You don't have it all in one place.
Yeah, even long-term, that's what I mean. Like, there's only a certain amount in the bank. My whole point of that was if I plan on accessing it via cash, then it's not going to go into the bank. I use multiple places. Yes, I have a really good safe in the house. Fireproofing is good. Fireproof safe is a really good idea. And then also that's one that would be a bear to get into. So that's a really good idea as well. Safety deposit box. Guys, when you open a safety deposit box, you're renting a box. And when you rent that box, you sign a contract with the bank or the financial institution. And in that contract, you say and agree to that you will not store cash in the safety deposit box. So FYI, they don't want you to do that. The reason they don't want you to do that is it is not FDIC insured. And should the bank burn down, it is not covered in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. If a game has good rules but bad penetration, are you better off just playing basic strategy? What are the rules necessary to gain the edge off the top? Is that even possible to find anywhere anymore?
Well, you're never better off just playing basic strategy unless you have an edge off the top, and then you're just cranking basic strategy because you have the edge off the top. Other than that, you're trouncing.
I'm going to take a step further. If the game has good rules but bad penetration, just stop right there and play something out. If it has bad penetration, I mean, it's really not worth the effort of trying to beat that game.
Yeah, it's not worth your time.
Yeah. I mean, you could be up against a really tough, really deep cut game, and who's to say? I mean, there's no guarantee they're even going to let you play the many hours it's going to take to get to the long term on that game. So it's not like just because they're cutting off 2 decks that they're going to guarantee they're going to let you play 800 hours. That's just not the reality.
Yeah, that's true. Is it even possible to find a game that's edge off the top there, Joe?
It is possible. It's happened this year somewhere.
Yep.
It's still out there. You have to look for them, wide and far, and could possibly not even, maybe right now there's not a game in this country that's edge off the top, but it's somewhere else. We're not going to give out any edge off the top games because they're super valuable and really secretive and tough to find.
Yeah.
But it does exist if you search for it. And it may only exist under certain conditions that you have to request or alter or this or that. It may not be that the game is inherently edge off the top, but with a modification here or there, legal modification here and there, could have some.
A little social engineering. All right. As a European, I've been debating a BJA membership, but I'm not sure I can find beatable games.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because you could at first just be like, oh, yeah, there's no shoe games in my country. What can I get out of joining Blackjack Apprenticeship membership? But I would say to that person, let's say that person also doesn't have room to or the time to travel to the US for periodic trips throughout the year. Let's just say it's that. I mean, there's still positive edges within Blackjack all over the world, but it may just be a few skills that you need to practice on besides the card counting, but you do need to start with the card counting as a base first to build the foundation that you can add on some other skills to beat those games that you can find. And the positive side of not having a lot of standard beatable card counting games is if you do find something that is beatable in your country or that area, it tends to be more valuable than a straight up card counting game in the US. So there could be a gold mine there, but you do have to start somewhere. And I think it's a pretty good foundation to start.
Yeah, I agree. This is another good. I like that we're kind of going back to some core basic questions that people a lot of times have about the game of blackjack. Can your outcome of winning be altered by how others are playing the game? If you're playing basic strategy to the book and the person next to you is all over the place, does that affect your winning probabilities?
If someone's acting crazy and doing that and doing wild plays, in my head, I'm just like, I don't care what you do, just do it fast. Don't ask me what to do because that takes up more time. Just do it. Just do it as quick as possible so it can be my turn. And my turn again, and my turn again, and my turn again.
Right. So the answer is essentially it doesn't matter what the other people do. It's not a team sport like they think it is. I recently tweeted this out because I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast that had, who was it? Oh, Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe's on it. And first of all, kudos to him because he talks about how awful gambling is. And he doesn't like how casinos are allowed to promote and do the things that they do that are so nefarious and bad for society. So kudos to that. But then he also shares a story where he once jet set with Tom Cruise to Vegas. And Tom Cruise taught him that if you control first and third base, that you can get the edge on the casino by the decisions that you're making. That, my friends, is false. You cannot do it. It has nothing to do with what other decisions are being made or what gamblers believe is working or not working or the flow of the cards. It doesn't matter in the long run. Could a player doing something impact that individual hand for that short period in time? Yes, but doing it by the book or against the book influences what happens on the next player's hand. So it doesn't matter. Mathematically, it does not matter at all.
Yeah, if this were true, there would be basic strategy teams all over the country going around taking those seats and fighting over seats everywhere. It's just not how it works. And that's the thing about blackjack is the game is so close to 50-50 that it's going to take hundreds of hours to see an edge play out either for the casino or for the advantage player. And in between that time, you can make up so many different reasons of systems and why this worked and that didn't work. And you could do that for 100 hours and you could say it's factually true for that 100 hours. But if you do it for 200, 300, 400, 500, it becomes less and less and less and less true to the point where all you're left is with the infinite truth of what the game actually is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, at this point, if someone's doing something crazy, I don't get irritated or mad in the moment. I actually enjoy when people are doing crazy things because it's just entertaining to watch because I truly know in my heart that it doesn't affect my outcome or EV at all. So just seeing something different. Sometimes card counting is it can be so monotonous and boring hour after hour that you just want to see something different. And when you see something different, it's like, oh, this is great. This is fun. And that's the truth of all these things, like all these like social media influencers who are trying to claim that they have edges doing this or that, and it's all sexy. Like real AP card counting, it's not sexy. It's long hours of training. It's hard work. It's draining being at the table for a lot of hours. It's a lot of seeing the same things over and over and over again. And over time, the money is stacking up quietly and slowly in the background. And then when you look back, all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, over the past 3 years, I'm up like hundreds of thousands. How did that happen? It's just sort of accumulates in the background. So
trying to get treated like a criminal the whole time.
Exactly, yeah.
Which is great. Normal blackjack rules are simple. You just always assume the down card is a 10. Discuss how APs don't assume. They use what they know and the math. First of all, Joe, is that simple blackjack rules that you just assume the dealer has a 10 underneath?
Well, it's a 10 when you don't want it to be a 10, and it's not a 10 when you don't want it to be a 10. It's just, that's how it actually works.
Yeah. No, and by the way, no, that is actually incorrect. The basic strategy. You don't just assume there's a 10. That's oftentimes thrown around there. Like, yeah, you just always assume the dealer has a 10. It's an oversimplistic way of looking at decisions in basic strategy. It is false.
That's the equivalent of our gym bro science.
Yeah,
people.
Yeah. Sometimes they're right accidentally. Same with bro science. Sometimes they're right accidentally.
Yeah.
But just a reminder on this. So they asked, they want us to discuss, how we use our brain and how we use math. So guys, counting is not that complicated. It's really not. It's hard, but it's not complicated. And the hard part is just getting it down and getting it natural and getting it automated. But learning it, trust me when I say this, if I can learn to count cards, so can you. So that's not the complication of it. It's applying it in the real world, because it is a lot of basic math done very fast with a lot of distraction and worrying about what is going on in the casino environment in terms of heat and other pressures that are involved in the scenario when you're actually playing a game. But going back to one of my answers, you get the edge because of blackjack paying 3-2, which is what makes 6-5 games such trash. I know there are people that listen that are recreational players. Hopefully you're at least learning basic strategy to reduce that house edge. Don't play 6-5 blackjack. Everybody should boycott 6-5 blackjack. I don't care that it's cheaper to play the game. They're doing that on purpose. But by the way, that $10 bet on a 6-5 blackjack game versus the 3-2 blackjack game at $25 min, you'd be shocked to know that that's pretty much the same amount of money that you're losing per round. So don't play 6-5 blackjack, everybody. But yeah, the aces, guys, blackjack 3-2. We follow what has happened. We track it. And when the shoe flips to being advantageous, we up our bets. And in the long run, we make money. The math will always show itself. In the short run, it's an absolute nightmare sometimes.
And back in the 50s, when the 4 Army engineers created basic strategy, they were using a computer to figure it out. So it's not just something that you can just look at the table and assume and guess that, oh, because I think the dealer has a 10, then this is the correct move. No, you need hundreds of thousands of hands to play out to figure out the correct strategy, which is all this has been done for you. You don't have to, that's the good thing about it, is you don't have to think about it. Like card counting blackjack, this is not poker. There's nothing, even, well, poker's, solved on some level, but there's way less nuance to this. Like this is, you follow exactly what has been laid out the correct way every single time. You do it over and over and over again with discipline, and you add in your own spice and flair to throw off the casino without giving away your edge.
Yep.
Good night.
Mic drop.
I'm just getting started at card counting and wondering how granularly do you track your time at the tables? in the face of all the changing table conditions. For example, you sit down at a table playing alone with a fast dealer, good cut. 30 minutes later, 2 other players show up, cut down your rounds per hour for the next hour and a half. Another dealer gets switched out for another one with a worse cut. How do you account for all these changes when you want to log your EV for those hours for tracking your time at the tables? What's your personal approach? I'll tell mine, and then we can kind of give ideas for.
Yeah. So Joe's saying, what's your personal approach? Because this is a personalized kind of thing. Like, everybody's going to operate a little differently. To me, the law of averages always works out. Fast dealers, slow dealers, some people at the table, no people at the table, and it's all going to go out in the wash. So I screenshot my phone when I sat down, and then upon exit, I noted the time or screenshotted that, and that's how I counted my hours to play. That's it. That simple. Yeah, sometimes I had less rounds per hour, sometimes I had more, but like I said, law of big numbers. It's all going to average out for the most part, so I wasn't concerned. One caveat to that: if possible, seek out fast dealers. I want to play a fast dealer if I can get one. So because I have that particular thought process in my mind, and that's what I'm going after, maybe I did crank out a little bit more EV than my number says, but who cares? I'm not that anal about that.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, I do the stopwatch thing on the phone before I pause it during breaks for food or bathroom, whatever. But I also just don't like the optics of like in between every shoe going to your phone and putting in stuff, because they can just zoom in and see what you're doing. And I just don't want to be constantly inputting things in between shoes. I just don't like that way that looks. But I mean, I guess to make it a little bit easier, you could develop some kind of like maybe have some different columns on a blank spreadsheet without showing what it is, but showing like 1, 1.25, 1.5, 1.75, just have hash marks or something if you wanted to do that for each shoe and do the rounds and everything that way. But at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, your hourly is going to be your hourly, whatever it ends up being. I guess some people just want to see how far off they are quote unquote supposed to be from EV. I guess if you're having a downturn or an upswing, preparing for the inevitable, following the line. But
a lot of times I think we see this as a very common thing, especially earlier in your career. People tend to overestimate their EV to begin with anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So even that's not like an exact thing.
We have tried to put in a lot of work on the pro betting software to accurately estimate rounds per hour given the conditions with people at the table. So you could, at the end of the night in your hotel, or whatever, retroactively go back, use the pro betting software, put in how many people are at the table, conditions, and then it'll spit out a rounds per hour of what it was. So you could do that too after the fact if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's a lot sharper now, tool wise, to really, if you're one of those people that wants to get more precise. All right, guys. As always, we appreciate that you listen. Make sure you click and subscribe. Kidding.
Smash that like button.
Smash that like button.
Pound that. Destroy that share button.
No, seriously though. If you like it, subscribe. We're not going to say that much. But as always, it is been my pleasure to spend this time with Joe and answer your guys' questions. We really do like doing it. We hope it helps. And to round out the year, we're going to have a couple more podcasts coming out. So stay tuned for those. You're going to want to listen to the upcoming ones for sure. Yeah, guys, go out there and get that EV.
We also are releasing, if you're a Blackjack Apprenticeship member, we've put a lot of time and research into this new we have a 2025 update on playing conditions, back off times, things like that. We're going to have a whole analysis breakdown of what our members have been seeing out in the field, kind of real results averaged out. It's essentially a question of the whole optimizer versus maximizer approach and what the actual numbers have been showing and telling us as far as what people are experiencing out there. And I think it's going to be really interesting to get the full report. And yeah, we're going to do I believe it'll be a members only podcast about breaking down what we're finding out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a roundtable. There's going to be several of us APs to weigh in on the data that we see, and then also our live experience in the casinos too. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that one.
I don't want to give anything away, but I mean, I haven't seen the full report yet, but maybe the Joe748 maximizer approach in 2026 will have to be tweaked slightly. We'll see.
Maybe.
We'll see by how much. We'll see if I can do it, though. I don't know if even the numbers, whatever they say, that 1 to 1,500 spread might still have to come out every now and then.
Oh, all right, guys. Thank you. Be well.